Here's the queen trap, and if you look closely, the one that's not dead, it's hanging on upside down in there. Should be my queen. So I popped her cap open so they can get to the queen. There's my bees. I have a very angry hive after dumping them, literally dumping and shaking them out of their package. That's a package of bees, smaller than a nuke, less developed. New queen, not a queen over the winter. She's fresh. May or may not have actually been laying eggs yet in the hive. So it is a less expensive and less guaranteed way to start a hive. But I went ahead and threw the sugar water that they were used to tasting in that can in there, just because I had it. And this is how I've seen it done in a couple of other places. I'm throwing it back in there for them to eat off of. I've got an in-hive feeder, and then I've got 5 frames. So I'm thinking that's enough, because you got a full nuke living inside of 5 frames normally, which is quite a bit more bees than this, believe it or not. And then I've got plenty of feed in there to try to get them used to the sugar water and wanting to stay. That's part of why I left the can in there, like I said. And piles of bees, and the queen is down there and should be able to be accessed and should be able to escape the hive now. I'm going to check that in 2 to 3 days and hopefully take that out, maybe slip a couple more frames back in there. Put my inside cover back on, put my top cover back on. I'm going to leave their box here because there's still tons of bees on it, and I'm going to hope that they all go to the hive I actually want them to, because that's where their queen and food are. So we're going to see if this works. Welcome to Bees 2026. Happy April. Another useless thing to share with you guys, Italian bees haven't proven to be too crazy and too interested in attacking me yet in my very short period of keeping bees. I've been getting away with a flannel tucked into my pair of jeans, a good hat, and some good gloves. I've yet to get stung while I'm actually taking care of them. A couple caught me in the garden, but whatever. So you don't always have to get the crazy expensive suit just to get started. This is a 10 hive deep Longstrath box. It's a good thing to start the brood and get the hive started in. After a few weeks here, and after throwing those other hives in, taking the can out from installing the new queen, as long as the queen's healthy and the hive is starting to show some brood on 3 to 4 frames, I will consider throwing another deep on the top. That will allow me to put all of the frames in the bottom, which is where I want most of the brood to be, because bees will stack their hive up, and the higher up in the hive, the more it is that they're just storing pollen and making honey. So you want to stack up on these hives, and you want to keep the brood in the bottom, so I don't want to take their brooding space with the feeder. I want to move that feeder up. Next time I put on this 10 deep Longstrath box, my stuff is friendly enough. Taken off of Amazon. This is Maybe brand. I found it to be plenty good. It's also just waxed on the outside and not painted. Hives don't last forever. They get infected. People either like to paint them, some people like to wax them, keep the paint away from their hive. I've done wax, not because I necessarily think or I'm sure that it's better, but it's what the box has started with, and it's been okay so far. So I'm excited to have these bees again. Again, these are Italian bees. They got me some very sweet honey, and they are not super aggressive. I gotta do a better job of making sure they get through this year. So let's see how good of a job I can do at feeding them, growing out this hive, and maybe even splitting it into a second one so that there's more strength in our hives in this area. So I'm gonna get out of here before they either get so used to me or I take them off. Top cover on. You can see I sprinkled some pollen substitute on top, another thing to help try to keep them present and liking the hive. I also put on, because I had trouble in the last year that I did bees with robbing. That's how I think I lost my first hive. They got robbed blind. One day they were doing fantastic in the hive. 2-3 days later they were empty and tons of their honey was gone. There were a lot of hives in our area, other people doing bees, so I think my smaller new beehive, well, it did great, got out robbed after I took what do they take, a couple of quarts of honey out of it. I think like 4 quarts is what it added up to. And I'm going to try to use that robbing screen throughout the year. Screwed it on, got that from Layman's, and we'll see if this does any better for me this year. I'm going to try to close those screens tonight, make sure that any evening bees aren't coming and any mice aren't coming. No, I'm not going to be so dedicated that I'm going to be taking care of this hive all the darn time and closing and opening the door every day. It's not going to happen. That's part of why I put the bigger feeder in there. But I am going to use it and switch between doors and door types, and I'll unscrew that and put the other opening on into the middle of summer, and robbing and starting the hive is less of a problem. Really hoping I find this to being a useful little, like $14 little thing, and I could easily make my own now that I have one and see the idea. So, see how it works. As you can see, I have our Italian bees at Maple Spring Farm on a couple of little concrete blocks. You probably can't see this, but it's slightly unlevel intentionally, just a little bit, so that it's leaning forward so that front rain and such can drain out. I've actually got the opening facing to the east, so it will be less likely to get water in and out of that as well. And I've got a ratchet strap onto just a stand that I have put on. It's about the height I want it. Once you stack some supers or upper boxes onto there, it pretty quickly gets close to my short little man height, so it's no shorter than I want it to be. If I was to do anything else to this, I would try to add some robbing feet. I already see an ant walking around on the bottom of this thing, and if you lift it up and there's little upside down caps, and it keeps other insects from being able to crawl up and over, at least ones that can't fly. Keep some of your spiders, keep some of your ants out. Mice are still always possibly a problem. I've never had trouble with mice yet. I have mine. We have 5 acres, and there's plenty of acre space. Hello, sheep. And that gets us plenty of clover and dandelion honey. Although, it turns out a lot of honey is made from the trees in the year. We happen to have some awesome black locusts and maples, sugar maples, pines. We have a bunch of fruit trees. They're young but getting started. I have hawthorns and a whole backyard full of walnuts and maples, and a handful of birch trees. So there's plenty of local pollen for them to feed from, plus all the rose gardens and stuff we try to do, and little wildflowers, and of course a little garden that we grow out of. So we have food to do. And I did notice the year that we had our bees last year. I didn't, because I failed, and just life and having a kid, it wasn't enough time to start another beehive. We're doing it this year. I'm hoping to do a split or get one off of a good friend from work, and we'll see what happens. That's it for starting my new hive in 2026. If you've got any questions or things you want to ask me or let me know, I'm pleased to hear some of those recommendations. And if you want to see more videos like this, I'm not really into the YouTube thing, so let that Maple Spring Farm lady know, and I'll send her some video clips and try to answer some questions.